Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Vintage Motocross Q&A. I'm your host, Joe Abadi. We've got a great show lined up for you tonight. In the product spotlight, we're going to be showing you some new things. We've got a new sponsor I'm going to be telling you about shortly. There's also a 1973 CZ400 we'll be taking a look at, as well as a Can-Am 175. But right now, let's get down to the starting line. I want to welcome AMSOIL as our new sponsor for the show. AMSOIL has been around since 1973. Today, the word synthetic oil is very, very popular. Every manufacturer makes one. Who made the first synthetic oil? AMSOIL back in 1973. They've got a product line when it comes to lubricants that is second to none. They're involved in so many events, at so many motorcycle events, off-road, snowmobile, you name it. AMSOIL is out there, and they've been supporting so many different sports for so long, including arena cross, snow cross. They've been involved in desert races. They've been involved in so many things. I've got a catalog here. We're going to be talking more about some of the AMSOIL products in the future. I'm even going to be having some of the products here in the shop. I'll be using them on the show. We'll be telling you more about it in the future. Right now, I want to thank Russell Waters and AMSOIL for stepping up to the plate and becoming a sponsor of Vintage Motocross Q&A. Trivia, it'll be coming up a little later. We'll be giving away a Preston Petty autographed number plate. I'll be giving you a phone number. I'll be giving you plenty of time to call. A number will pop up. We're going to have a question for you. I think it's pretty easy tonight too. And we'll be sending somebody, some lucky winner, a Preston Petty autographed number plate. Right now, I want to tell you to try this, or why not try this? So many of us have a box of bolts that look just like this right here. It's a big mix of nuts, bolts, washers, and it just gets growing and keeps growing, and it becomes a big pile after a while. We don't know what to do with it. Whenever you need one, you're in there grabbing a nut, grabbing a bolt, seeing if it fits. You don't know the thread pitch, you don't know the size. What I'm going to recommend is you buy a tool. But first, what I want to say to you is, see, you want your hardware to look like it does in this picture. Maybe not polished, but you want to have it organized just like this, like it is in this little box. What you need to buy is a thread pitch gauge. And here's just one form of a thread pitch gauge. You can see it's got little teeth on it, and those teeth fit directly into the thread of your bolt. And it's going to tell you what the pitch of the bolt is. This one happens to be 1.75 millimeter. Next to it, you can see where it's 200. On the other side, it's a 1.5. And in the next slide, you'll see another variation of what a thread pitch gauge looks like. This one happens to be American Standard on one side and metric on the other. These are real handy to have in your pocket, and someday, when you have some time and you've got that box of bolts in front of you, you take your little thread pitch gauge, you go down to the fishing store maybe, or to Home Depot, you buy a little tray, just like you see here in the picture. You take that thread pitch gauge and you start to measure your bolts. And then with a little piece of tape, you make little piles and you put them all together, you put them in that box. So the next time you're at the track or wherever you may be, you need a bolt, you need a nut, you know what that pitch is, because if you got a thread pitch gauge in your pocket, you're going to be able to reach into that box or a nice batch of trays like this, and you're going to be able to find exactly what you're looking for. So that's my tip for this week on why don't you try this. Next up, we've got the Moto Showcase. Kevin Halsey from Missouri has sent in a beautiful little MX 175 that he bought, and it was kind of distressed when he bought it. We'll see you in the next picture. Here it is, got a bit of a modern silencer on it, but the bike looked complete. I happen to be a Can-Am fan. I had ridden one in vintage racing years ago, an MX 250, one of the torquiest, greatest bikes I've ever ridden. Yeah, it took a bit to turn, but it had some awesome power. Kevin took this bike, he took it down to the frame, he said to me he inspected everything, bead-blasted or sandblasted everything, had it all painted, replaced some bearings, bushings, whatever the bike needed. He took his time reassembling it, as you can see right here, where he's got his forks on it, he's got the fenders fitting perfectly, and everything looks just the way it should. Kevin also said that he had gone through the engine, which they're pretty bulletproof, and parts for them are relatively plentiful. They don't break too often, and you can get parts for them. A 175 happens to be a great bike too. Just a little bit more than that 125 will give you, but not quite as much of a torque monster maybe as the 250. But Kevin went through the engine, put it all back together. He's got his graphics on it, which look absolutely perfect on that tank. And here you can see the finished product from Kevin Hulsey, an MX175 Can-Am. Did a great job, put the pipe back on the way it's supposed to be with the correct silencer. Jordan, our amazing producer, spinning those graphics back and forth for us tonight, giving us a real professional look on the show. Great job, Jordan, and great job, Kevin Hulsey. I want to thank you for sending in that bike. We're going to be sending you a nice sticker package, much like you see back here on the board from FastGuyStuff.com. And while I'm thinking about Fast Guy Stuff, it's not only the stickers we have on the board. Go over to their website, go over to their Facebook page. Sean Gomes, he's got a lot of products out there, a lot of stickers, different things that are period correct of the era. Give them a try next time you need some stickers. Here's the problem. This is the segment of the show where we take questions throughout the week. We do a little research. Hopefully we can shed some light on some of the problems that our viewers have. First one up happens to be Sam Floridia. Before I get to this question, you know what? I want to thank Sam Floridia, Tom Daw, Joe Anderson, Lee Fellabaum. There's a few of them. Every week after this show is over, these guys share this video, this live feed. They share it all over Facebook. And it's guys like them that are helping make the show grow. So Sam Floridia, Tom Daw, and the guys, I want to thank you personally right now while I'm thinking about it for all the shares that you give me and all the times that you watch the show and comment, and now you're even sending in some great questions. So, Sam Floridia, do you think the value of vintage enduro bikes such as the Suzuki PE, Yamaha IT, or Kawasaki KDX, etc., is comparable with the motocross models? Yeah, I think it's comparable. In a sense of what you'll put into them. If you do the right job, you'll get back out. The thing I really like about these older enduro bikes is how versatile they are. Great trail bikes. If you set them up properly, you could even get them registered, ride them on the street. I mean, on a nice Saturday morning in the springtime or in the summer, you want to go down into a little town, get a cup of coffee, you take your KDX 200 down there or your PE, you're going to get a circle of friends around you before you know it. In fact, I'm going to share something with you right now. We once had a conversation one day, a few of my friends and I, and we were talking about if you only had one bike and it had to be like an on-road, off-road bike, which one would you take? My choice was the KDX 200. I had one. I loved the bike. It was something you could trail ride, something you could really take on a motocross track. Couldn't get crazy with it, but it was just docile enough to take on a trail, just had enough power where you can get around a nice little motocross track on it, and probably if it was geared right with the right sprockets and whatnot on it, you'd be able to get through town on it too. Yes, Sam, I think they're a good investment. In fact, I think they're a little bit of a sleeper right now. You know, the vintage motocross stuff has been getting attention for many years, although the cross-country races with ARMA and a few other groups, a lot of the guys have taken a liking to the KDXs, the PEs, and the ITs. But I think they're a great value right now. I think parts are plentiful for them, and I think it'd be a fun little bike to restore and be able to tool around town on in your spare time. Sam, thanks for the question. Next up, Rich Clark. I try to replicate my builds with as much detail as possible. I'm having trouble finding correct NOS tires that aren't dry rotted. What is the consensus on the acceptable modern replacement tire? Well, Rich, I can tell you one thing. Dunlop puts out a real good tire. It's called the K990. I've talked about this with Brock Glover, and he says they sell quite a few of them. The K990 does have a vintage type tread pattern, correct for that era. The nice thing about it is the profile isn't too low and it's not too high as you would see maybe on your 500 Trelleborgs or some of your older tires. The Dunlops, the Metzlers, some of the profiles on them are just gigantic. The K90 is a real good choice if you're looking for a quality tire to race on or something that looks period correct for your restorations. And Rich Clark, I am familiar with your restorations. You've got some beautiful Fox replicas. Your work is really, really impeccable. I love your bikes. I should have had some in the pictures, being it was your question. My choice for tires, V-brand rubber. I love V-brand. I like them for a couple different reasons. Much like the Dunlop tire I mentioned earlier, the profile isn't too high. The tread pattern looks very similar. They have a tire called the Vintage Reserve. Looks exactly or very, very, very close to what you had found or what you had on your bike in 1974, 1975. This little CR125 happens to have V-brand rubber on it. I was very, very happy with it. It looks very authentic. Another thing I like about V-brand is the aspect ratio on the side. In other words, it's going to say 450-18, 275-21. I think that's a nice touch when you're looking for a modern tire, but a little bit of a vintage look to it. So, the Dunlop 990, and take a look for V-brand rubber. eBay is a good place to look for the V-brand. They sell them in pairs, and there seems to be a lot of dealers. Their network is pretty good. Not only from eBay, but if you Google search V-brand, you might find a dealer real close to you. Thanks for the question, Rich. Oh, by the way, that's a Kawasaki KX125 there, 1979. We restored a while ago. That bike right there has V-brand rubber on it. Rob Margella. I've got a 1986 CR250. The drain plug hole for the gearbox has a hairline crack in it. Can this be repaired without welding the case? As a temporary repair, I've used Teflon tape. The advice I'm going to give you right here, Rob, is advice. I've used helicoils before in stripped out drain plugs that you see like right here in this picture, but I've never used a helicoil, and I don't recommend it if you have a hairline crack in your drain plug hole. I don't recommend it because a helicoil is more like a tightly wound spring. And I think if you were to get it up in there, that hole is opened up a little bit due to your hairline crack that you have. I don't think it's going to be a good choice for you. As I explain a little bit more here, I'll tell you, well, you'll see what I'm talking about. Here is how the helicoil went in. I'm not really recommending it. What you do want to make sure of is that your plug is out, all the oil's out of your bike. The advice I'm going to give you is because you do not want to split the case. So just hear me out. You want to take your clutch cover off your bike, and through some of the oil passage holes that are on that clutch cover side, you want to take some brake clean with that long straw stem, that plastic stem. You want to spray through there into the transmission area down around that drain hole. Spray around down in there, get all the oil out. What you could do then is get underneath there with a rag and maybe some kind of pick or a hook, put a rag in there and work it around just to make sure you've got all the oil, any kind of contaminant out of there. Once that thing is clean, you want to use something like this product right here. It's called Lab Metal. Yes, you can use JB Weld or some other epoxy that you feel is applicable. Lab Metal is the best. JB Weld works great too. In the next picture, you're going to see again where we have that hairline crack. It's actually bigger than a hairline crack. But all that oil is going to be gone. You're going to have it nice and dry in there. I'm not recommending the helicoil, and I want to go back to that again, because if it's opened up a little bit, that helicoil is not going to seal around where that hairline crack is. You're still going to have a problem with oil getting past that and down the side. What you want to use is what I'm showing you on the bottom. That's a steel insert. Hear me out. You want to separate your drain plug from that crack. That steel insert is going to be the only way to do that. Now follow me. You want to put the Lab Metal up in that crack like your hairline crack is on your bike. You want to add some more of that Lab Metal or JB Weld to the threads on that steel insert. And you're going to want to screw it up in there, inside that hole. A word of caution. You'll want to make sure that that steel insert doesn't go up too far into your cases. The number one reason why the oil is not going to drain from there when you go to drain the oil. Another thing you want to be careful of is you don't want to have it protrude past. Jordan, can we switch that camera? Let's see how I can do this here. Okay, here's your oil drain plug, right? You don't want that steel insert going up past this, because then you're going to have a problem making a seal. So when you buy your steel insert, take a look at the size of it, take a look at the thread pitch. They do come in different sizes. They come in metric sizes. I know they do. I looked it up. I've used them before in other applications, not necessarily here. So you don't want it to come on down past here. You don't want it to go up too high into the case here, otherwise your oil is not going to drain out. So you've got your crack filled in with your Lab Metal. You've got your steel insert. You've got it turned up in there. You know that the profile isn't too high and it's not too low, so it's not going to impede with the oil coming out or putting your new drain plug in. What you're going to want to use next is a crush washer. And I got a picture, here it is right here. It looks just like this. And what these are, you've seen these a million times in your life. They're on the bottom of spark plugs too. When you put your spark plug into your head, this aluminum or copper washer crushes. It causes a good seal. You're going to want to put this on your new drain plug. So you've got your lab metal in there, you've got your steel insert, now you have to look for the right plug because you've technically reduced the size of your oil drain area. Maybe it was a 14 millimeter shank or bolt size for your regular drain plug. That may now be reduced by 4 millimeters. It could be a little bit more. What you're going to want to do is get a flange bolt, much like you see here. However, what you're looking at here is actually a drain plug. But you're going to want to get something with a nice size flange on it so you can put it through this crush washer and bolt it all up in there and get it nice and snug. Jordan, if we can go back, there was a picture of that drain plug, and it looked like it was white. The background looked like it was white, and that right there. This is what you want to, this is what you're striving for. You want a nice flange on that drain plug, and you want to get that crush washer big enough to where that flange is covering it, and it seals up right against there. Again, this is my advice. I've used helicoils in drain plugs before. I've done it without splitting the cases, where you just drill it a little bit, you put a tap in there with some grease on the tap where it catches the little shavings from the aluminum that's coming out. That can be done. But what you're saying to me here is that you have a crack in your drain plug area and that you can prevent the oil from dripping out temporarily using Teflon tape. That's my recommendation. I'd like you to try that, Rob. I'd like you to let me know how it works. The other reason why I didn't recommend you drill it and then tap it is because you say it has a hairline crack. I was very concerned that maybe the drill would catch on that hairline crack, may crack it worse. It's going to cause more problems. You may not be able to get a tap in there because it's cracked. So what I'm recommending is what I've just told you. Lab metal, crush washer, a steel insert, a bolt with a flange bolt, and a crush washer. Try that. I'd be anxious to see if that works for you. Thanks for the question. In the What's It Worth segment, we're going to be taking a look at a 1972 CZ400. This bike recently sold on eBay for $6,900. In the description, it said that it was a meticulous and correct restoration. Well, I'll tell you, from where I'm sitting, that was a correct and meticulous restoration. Jordan, let's move that slide. I loved everything about this bike. The color seemed to be on the money. I liked the way it wasn't over polished. It had the correct rims on it. The chrome looked nice. It had the right pipe. Everything about the bike really looked really nice. It had the correct Jaikov carburetor on it, the way the cylinder and the header finished. There's nothing I could say about this bike that would be negative. I happen to love everything about it. Also, I thought at $6,900, that was a fantastic deal. CZ400s go for a little bit more money, probably 25 or 30% more even than a nice 250 of that same era. This bike happened to have everything right about it. For the cost of a bike to buy one, we all know these days that the parts and outside services, just the parts alone to restore a bike nicely, it's going to be over $3,000, probably close to $4,000. Then you've got outside services such as chrome. Maybe if you're not a painter or a polisher, you're going to go for a little extra there. At $6,900, if you were in the market for a 72 CZ400, this bike was a steaming deal, I think. I would be real happy with it. Had the correct bars, correct levers, shocks. The hubs looked great. Everything was all there. $6,900, 72 CZ400. That was what it was worth to somebody, and I think it was worth even a little bit more. Jordan, this is it. We've got the trivia contest. If you're watching this show from your telephone, it's time to yell at your kid or your wife, tell them to get in the room, that you need their phone, because you're going to call in just a moment, and you're going to win an autographed. See, it's backwards here, Jordan. When I go like this, there it is. See? I got to use my left hand, but it's right on the screen. Anyway, you're going to win an autographed Preston Petty number plate, and by God, it's Preston Petty's birthday today. 79 years old. Preston, God bless you. A hero to so many of us. You're going to call in right now. Here comes the question. Jordan, In 1981, the U.S. won its first Motocross the Nations. Name two of the riders on that team. In 1981, two of the riders. I'll tell you what, if you name four of the riders, I'll throw in some AMSOIL stickers along with that Preston Petty number plate, okay? Call in right now, live audience only. I don't know what that means because a dead audience isn't going to call in, but 925-234-8181. Sue is standing by inside. 234-8181. You tell me, two or four of the riders on the 1981 Motocross the Nations team. And we're going to get you some really cool swag from Preston Petty products. In the meantime, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about Preston Petty. For years, well, since we've all been out there, Preston's made some great products, whether it's hex grips, the integrated number plate brackets, the mutter fenders, and we here at Vintage Motocross Q&A are really proud to be an authorized dealer. So, if you are looking for any of the products that Paul Standard, with the blessing of Preston Petty, is reproducing, you can call me. I'd be glad to place or take your order, and I'll send it to you. Or you could just call Paul Standard up in Vermont. He'd be glad to take your order too. Whether it's the integrated rear fenders with the light on it, he's got hoodies up there, they've got the mutters. This is a great bike. Of course, my friend Dave Coupe restored. It's a Dickman frame TT500 with the Preston Petty fenders on it. So many guys had used Preston Petty fenders on their machines back in the 70s. I can think of Bob Hanna, of course, having a mutter on the front of his bike. Tony DiStefano, one of the first guys I remember when he got on Suzuki using Preston Petty products. It was very, very popular among the enduro riders, among the trail riders, and it comes in a variety of colors. Paul and Preston are doing a great job. I'm even hearing that they're going to be making some mutters in a short run in the Kawasaki lime green. So you might want to check with Paul if you're after some lime green Preston Petty fenders. Paul's going to be making them, and here comes Susie with our lucky winner. Susie, you got him on speaker?
Mark? Yes. Okay, hold on, Mark Hector.
Thank you, Susie. Hey, Mark, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I can't complain. In 1981, a Motocross the Nations team won for the first time for the Americans. Can you name two or even four of the riders that were on that team?
Johnny Amara,
Yep.
Chuck Son from up here in Washington,
Yeah.
Bonnie Hansen, Danny Laporte.
Woo, woo. I got to get a bell in here, some kind of whistle when somebody wins. You are exactly right, Mark. Those are all four of those legendary riders that were on the Motocross the Nations team that year. And I'm going to put Susie back on. She's going to get your address. We're going to get you out an autographed Preston Petty number plate, along with some extra stickers from AMSOIL, because they're our new sponsor, and they sent me a lot of stickers, man, along with a bunch of other stuff. Thanks, Mark.
Good, thank you. Hope you got a Brentwood in a few weeks.
Stop by. Give me a call.
Oh, yeah, give him a call. Let me get your address.
Boy, I'll tell you, this charity work, it wears me down, Jordan.
No.
What do we got next? Oh, this is something really cool. George Lucas, GTL Metal Polishing. He's down in Jackson, New Jersey. This guy is a whiz when it comes to trim and chrome for older cars. As you can see with this Nova in the picture, he does a great job. He's got a wonderful website, GTL Metal Polishing. He can take out little dents. He's a whiz with pitting and all different things. The great thing about George is he's also a vintage motocross enthusiast. And he can polish stuff for you guys out there who don't want to get involved with polishing anything. You can send it to George. He'll get it in a box, send it back to you. Now, George sent me a sample of something this week, and I'm going to share it with you. Let's go to camera 2. Okay? Now, this is all from one rim. And this is your section of the same rim. And George took it apart, cut it up a little bit. And what he did was, he put an absolutely beautiful satin finish on that very same rim. Now, from here, if I wanted to keep that like that, I would send it to my anodizer for clear anodizing, and it would look absolutely authentic by the time it was done, I think with what came out during that time. Now, if you want something a little snazzier, well, George, you could take that thing up to a high luster just like that. And boy, who wouldn't want to have that on their bike, huh? So, I want to recommend that you guys go over and check out GTL, Metal Polishing, George Lucas. He is on Facebook, but he's also got a website that has, I think, even a bit more stuff than his Facebook page has on it. He's in Jackson, trustworthy guy, been around a while. For your vintage motocross guys, he's a vintage motocross guy. So when you send your stuff to him, he's going to send it back the way you'd expect to get it back. George, GTL, thanks for the product, and I hope you get some answers, some responses from our plug here at Vintage Motocross Q&A.
Time for the commercial.
We're going to cut to a commercial from Vmxq.
Classic and vintage dirt bikes are more than a hobby. It's not just about the ride. It's about the work that goes in. The work that keeps you connected to the ride. It's about bringing the bike back to life and doing it with your own hands. It's about the adrenaline and adventure. And when it comes to putting all the pieces together, only Vmxq knows the bikes and parts the way you do. Vmxq, keep the ride going.
Great commercial from Vmxq. You should check them out when you get a chance. Right now, we'll take a look at the announcements. Jordan, what do we have? Preston Petty, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, 79 years old, Preston Petty, a legend to so many people. I want to wish Preston Petty a very, very happy birthday. Preston, keep putting in as many laps as you can. We're all loving you here with us, showing up at the events, and still promoting motocross and your products after all these years. Thank you, Preston. You truly are a treasure. Old School Scrambles, it's coming up this weekend. That's why I'm wearing this shirt right here. I got it from Tammy Greenhill. Who's ready to do that on Sunday, February 23rd? It's down at Glen Helen on the truck track. It's going to be a great event. This whole series takes place right down there in Glen Helen on that truck track. And let me just tell you some of the things that go on there. Number one, any new rider rides with them for free. Great deal, right? That's courtesy of Rod Lake Racing. And kids, they always ride free at the Old School Scrambles Racing Group. So, the first race of the season is coming up this Sunday, I think it is. February 23rd. Get down there to Glen Helen. You're going to have a great time. Tell Tammy I sent you. FastGuyStuff.com. Sean Gomes, thank you for being a product sponsor for the show. Thanks to your generosity, we are able to give away stickers to people who send in their bikes for the Moto Showcase, and I want to encourage everyone watching. Send in your bike. You saw a Can-Am this week. We had a Suzuki last week. We had Mark Hildebrand send in that amazing Sax a few weeks ago. Don't be shy, fellas. It could be a race bike. It could be a show bike. Send it in. Tell me a little bit about it. I'd be glad to put it on the show. And I'll tell you though, we're getting a lot of bikes now. We're getting a few each week. I've been trying to get on as many as I can. So send them in. We'll take a look at it. If we get it on the show, we'll get you a sticker pack from FastGuyStuff.com. Vmxq&A. We're still looking for sponsors. We've got a new one this week. We're so grateful to AMSOIL, for Vmxq, for their continued support, and of course, for Preston Petty, for their product sponsorship, and for FastGuyStuff.com. We still have a couple of places left on the show where we can get you here on the board behind us. We can give you some plugs. We have a nice variety, a nice choice of sponsorship packages for you. The more you spend, the more you get. You see Vmxq's got that commercial there. We could do a couple of different things though. And when people think of advertising many times or commercials, they think, well, it must be very expensive. It's really not, considering the exposure you're getting. My show here every week, just with me doing this show, by the time Saturday or Sunday rolls around, when I do the show on Wednesday, 17, 18, 20,000 people have been reached in just 4 or 5 days. That's a lot of eyes on your product, so you might want to think about that. Drop me a line. I'll send you a sponsorship proposal package. You can review it. We'll work something out, custom tailored for you. Maybe you want to do every other week. Maybe you want to do every other month. I don't know what you want until you talk to me. So get in touch with me. I'll get you a sponsor package. We'll see if we can't work out a really, really good deal for you here on Vintage Motocross Q&A. That's all the time I have for this evening. I hope you enjoyed the show, and you can share it, and you'll come back next week. Jordan, It's time for me to go. We'll see you next week on Vintage Motocross Q&A.